Check. Test.
now it's
All right. Is it going out, though, Ann? Is it going out to 95 and 24?
He hears it.
Yeah, but is it, well, now we hear it. Now, he must have turned the volume up in here. But is it going out?
I'm gonna check.
Just check and make sure it's going.
Kenny, it's good.
It's good?
Text message, yeah.
Oh,
Joey's watching.
all right, okay. All right, thanks, Joey. All right. All right, that was resolution number 1. Resolution number 2 is a resolution authorizing acceptance of a proposal for Carmel Sewer District number 1 collection. Councilman Lupinacci, would you read number 2?
Resolved that the Town Board of Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of Town of Carmel. Thank you. Sewer District 1, hereby authorize the acceptance of the proposal dated July 12, 2015 of J. Robert Filchetti and Associates LLC for the engineering design service required in connection with the repairs required within the Carmel Sewer District number 1 collection system pursuant to notice of violation issued by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Said proposal being in form as attached hereto and made a part hereof, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor, Kenneth Schmidt, is hereby authorized to execute said proposal on behalf of the town of Carmel, as well as any other documentations required to accept the aforesaid proposal on the terms authorized herein. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call vote.
Councilman Bonacci?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, third resolution this evening is a resolution authorizing a signature of recognition agreement with / certificate of approval for the Carmel Fire Department Incorporated. This is for the purchase of a new ladder truck for the Carmel Fire Department. This is the finance company wanted this certificate of approval and recognition agreement from the Carmel Town Board, so that's what we're doing this evening. So, Councilwoman McDonough, would you read that resolution?
Sure. Whereas Carmel Fire Department, Inc., the provider of fire protection services in Carmel Fire Protection District Number 3 in the town of Carmel, has advised the town board that it is in the process of obtaining financing for the acquisition of certain fire protection vehicles and/or equipment. And whereas that the town board of the town of Carmel has been advised that the Carmel Fire Department, Inc. is seeking financing, including private activity bonds pursuant to Internal Revenue Code, Section 147. And whereas the town board has been advised that a public hearing concerning the borrowing has been duly noticed and conducted by the Carmel Fire Department, Inc., and that all persons wishing to be heard were given due opportunity to do so. Now therefore be it resolved that Town Supervisor Kenneth Schmidt is hereby authorized to sign a certificate of approval and recognition of the proposed lease and option agreement between Carmel Fire Department, Inc. and First Bankers Corporation. Said certificate to be in form is attached hereto and made a part hereof. I offer this resolution as read.
Second?
Okay, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. Roll call vote.
Councilman Bonacci?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, all right, that completes the voting agenda items for this evening's town board meeting. And we're going to go on now to the presentation of the 2016 townwide tentative budget. This is the supervisor's budget. This is the one that I prepare, and it has to be submitted by today. And we're ready to go, and Ann is ready to hand it out to the town board members. And copies of this will be available tomorrow at the town clerk's office for those who wish to pick up a copy of it. Again, this is the 2016 tentative budget. So what happens after this evening is the budget now goes to the full board, and the full board deliberates with this budget for the next 50 days or so, and then we have to adopt it as a final budget by November 20th of this year. So it has to be approved and adopted by the 20th, but between today and November 20th, the board can make any changes that they would desire to the budget, which could include increasing the spending, and it can also include decreasing the spending. But we have to also adopt it as a preliminary budget by October 22nd. So it goes from tentative to preliminary and then to final. And in between the preliminary and the final, there's a public hearing. That's going to be on November 4th, where the public can come and they can speak with respect to the budget that's being proposed and moving forward for adoption. So I just wanted you guys to know the timeline of this is just, it's still early in the budget process, but, you know, this is the tentative one. This is the budget that Mary Ann and I worked on for about a month and a half now. And it was, you know, based on budgets that have been submitted by department heads and managers and other elected officials that we came up with this tentative budget. So, Ann, thank you for handing out the tentative budgets to the board. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read my budget message, and then we're going to go on to a presentation by Mary Ann, the town controller, with a PowerPoint presentation of the overall spending, tentative spending package. So the supervisor's 2016 tentative budget message. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the town board, residents, and property owners of the town of Carmel. One of the most important duties of the town supervisor is to initiate and coordinate the annual budget process. And tonight I am presenting the 2016 tentative budget to the town clerk and to the town board members and the public. First, a note about the process. The tentative budget is based on months of preparation and collaboration between myself, the comptroller, Mary Ann Maxwell, the heads of various town departments, as well as other elected officials. I wish to thank everyone for the care and consideration they took in the preparation of their budget requests. The town controller sat with me for many days and hours examining every single line item in the budget, reviewing it multiple times. Expenses and revenues were reviewed and carefully considered while constructing the tentative budget. And understanding the absolute mandate of controlling growth in taxes and providing meaningful public tax relief while preserving vital services for our quality of life, as well as balancing the needs of the community. Our town, along with all municipalities in New York State, is still bound by the New York State mandated tax cap levy of 2%. The 2% tax cap is also directly tied to the rate of inflation. In 2016, the rate of inflation this is prepared by the state, and they tell us how much our tax levy can increase from year to year. So in 2016, the rate of inflation dropped to 0.73%, which for the purposes of the 2016 budget, the town's tax levy cap cannot exceed 0.73%. I am pleased to report to you this evening that my tentative 2016 budget achieves this mandate and will stay under the New York State tax cap. The tentative 2016 budget is still subject to review and change by recommendations of the Carmel Town Board. Changes to the tentative budget may be considered by the board, and a preliminary budget will be adopted on October 21st. A public hearing will be held on November 4th. A final budget must be voted on, adopted by November 20th. I already mentioned this earlier. Total townwide tax increase for 2016. The 2016 tentative budget reflects a 2.6% increase in the townwide tax rate. The townwide taxes for a homeowner assessed at $204,940 will be a $43 increase over the 2015 adopted budget. So just understand that the townwide tax rate is different than the townwide tax levy. It's two separate. The levy is something separate. That's why you heard that this was higher than 2%. It's because this is tied to the townwide tax rate and not the townwide tax levy. So if you have a home assessed at $204,000, it'll be approximately $43 increase over this year's budget, the 2015 budget. Our town comptroller, Mary Ann Maxwell, will now present to you the 2016 Town of Carmel tentative budget. This presentation will provide for you an in-depth review of the town's finances, identifying projected expenditures and revenues for fiscal year 2016. In closing, my sincere thanks to Town Comptroller Mary Ann Maxwell, my office staff, and Ann Pasquarella and Bella Simodomo, along with other elected officials, department heads, and managers for their diligence and assistance during the preparation of my tentative 2016 budget. Respectfully submitted this 30th day of September 2015. All right, Mary Ann, you want to go through your PowerPoint?
Sure. I printed out copies if anybody wants to look at the copy, to read a copy of it.
Hit the red button. We got a problem.
We got a problem. All set?
Ready?
Everybody ready to go? Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Marion.
Good evening, Supervisor, Town Board. This is the 2016 Town of Carmel tentative budget, as Supervisor Schmidt said. What I'd like to explain, as it is a little bit confusing, is the difference between a tax levy and a tax rate. The property tax levy is the total amount of money to be raised by taxes to cover the cost of providing services to the public. The annual levy is calculated by taking the town's total annual expenditures less any revenues and/or appropriated fund balance. So you have your expenditures, you subtract your revenues, you add or subtract your appropriated fund balance, and you come up with your property tax levy. The annual tax rate is determined by dividing the total amount of the property tax levy by the total assessed value of a town or a special district. The taxable assessed levy is determined annually by the town assessor. The townwide taxable assessed levy used for the 2016 budget is $2,643 million, a decrease of approximately $803 million from the 2015 taxable assessed value. A decrease in the assessed value will result in an increase in the tax rate. So if your assessed value is going down, your tax rate will go up. For the 2016 tentative budget, townwide general and highway, the tax levy expenditures, is $26.4 million. The revenues, you subtract the revenues, and that's $4.8 million. In the 2016 budget, we are appropriating $200,000 to add $200,000 to the fund balance. So your property tax levy in the tentative townwide general and highway budget is $21.8 million. To calculate the tax rate, you take the property tax levy of $21.8 million, divide it by the taxable assessed value to come up with a tax rate of 8.25%. So the 2016 annual tax rate increase is 2.6%, as Supervisor Schmidt said. That's the increase from the 2015 adopted budget. And that's in the general and highway funds. The total tax levy, the total tax levy, townwide and special districts for the town of Carmel in 2016 actually is decreasing. For the 2016 budget, the allowable tax levy growth imposed by New York State Comptroller's Office, as Supervisor Schmidt said, is 0.73%. For the town of Carmel, that equates to a maximum allowable tax levy increase of $352,000. In the 2016 tentative budget, there is an overall tax levy decrease from the adopted levy. In the town-wide general and highway, the levy is increasing by $551,000. The special district levy is decreasing by $945,000 approximately, and that is due to Carmel Sewer District Number 2 retired capital debt. So therefore, the total 2016 tentative levy is decreasing by $394,000. So the 2016 tentative budget for the total levy is under the cap by a total of $747,000. This is calculated by the allowable increase of $352 minus the actual decrease of $394. So we are under the cap by $747,000.
Mary
And
Ann,
again, if I can just reiterate that this is largely due to the Sewer District 2 capital debt retirement.
would it be fair to say that the reason why the 2.6 increase in tax year over year is related to the townwide increase of $500,000?
Yes, because about about
Because
a
again,
little over $200 is a 1% tax increase. So, yes, you're right. And if you look at a town board, if you look at in your binders, I mean, not to look at right now, but in the tax cap calculation section, you'll look at each district, you'll see that the levies are going up in each district, the townwide and the general and highway and each district. And then you'll see the 882 fund, which is the capital debt for Sewer District 2, that's going down by $1.4 million. So even though we're under the cap, the only ones that's going to see a decrease in their taxes, and they may not even see the decrease because it may be offset with an increase in the general fund, general and highway, is the Sewer District 2 capital fund. Now, the Sewer District 2 operating fund is increasing, so they may not even see a decrease. It depends on their assessed value of their homes or businesses.
So every district and general and highway is going up except for one, and because.
Well, there's a few. There's a few that are, borderline, I think.
One main driver because
Yes.
of the retirement of debt.
Correct, and that's the Sewer District 2. Now, Water District 2 is going up. They're the same taxpayers, so, the Sewer District 2 taxpayers have been paying this capital debt for 30 to 40 years, so, I'm sure they'll be happy that is finally paid off, so. So I hope that explains that. In the 2016 tentative budget, in the town-wide, as Supervisor Schmidt also mentioned earlier, the average homeowner assessed at $204,940 would pay approximately $1,691 per year, which is an increase of $43 from the prior year. In the 2016 tentative budget, there is approximately $18,728,000 budgeted for employee compensation and benefit cost. This represents approximately 71% of the total expenditures in the townwide tentative budget. This is just a pie chart that shows the employee expenses of salaries and benefit costs is 71%, and all other expenses are 29%. Some budget drivers that I'd like to highlight. Employee benefits is a major budget driver. Health insurance costs continue to increase, currently budgeted at 8.8%. We don't have that is just a preliminary. We don't have a definite increase in the employee health insurance yet. Pension contributions decreased slightly. The ERS went from 18% to 15.9%, and the police and fire retirement system dropped slightly from 25.1% to 24.7%. Workers' comp rates continue to increase. It's estimated in the 2016 budget an increase of 6.5% over the 2015 actual workers' comp rates. Negotiations are ongoing with unions. IBT has expired since 2011, and the CSEA and PBA since 2012. We have budgeted salary increases in the 2016 budget for all expired contracts. Mortgage tax revenue for fiscal year 2015 is showing signs of improvements in January through August of 2015, with August monthly revenue at $103,000, which was a high. Mortgage tax revenue for fiscal year 2014 was a record low at $682,000. Mortgage tax revenue for the 2016 budget is budgeted at $700,000. In the highway fund, snow materials, salt, the cost of salt increased 46% over the last 2 years. $700,000 is budgeted in the 2016 budget, an increase of $50,000 from last year. New debt service, 2016, new debt payments for highway drainage, resurfacing and machinery, capital borrowings from prior years. There's new capital debt in Sewer District Number 1 of $1.1 million. That is the downtown business district in Mayapack. In 2016, that district will be required to pay interest payments beginning in October of 2016. Carmel Water District Number 1, also downtown business district, will see a special district tax increase due to numerous recent emergency repairs, resulting in an operating deficit in that district. As I mentioned earlier, the retired Carmel Sewer District Number 2 capital debt will be satisfied in November of 2015, lowering the 2016 special district levy by approximately $1 million. Carmel Sewer District Number 2 taxpayers have been paying this debt for 30 to 40 years, so they will see a decrease in the 2016 sewer district capital tax. New capital debt in the 2016 budget for the Long Pond Road Improvement District. Taxpayers in that district, which is a newly formed district, will begin paying interest on that debt in 2016. For capital machinery and equipment, we've budgeted $150,000 in the 2015 budget and $150,000 in the 2016 tentative budget for highway machinery in an attempt to avoid having to borrow for machinery. The ongoing townwide reassessment project, we also budgeted $150,000 in the 2016 budget. We also budgeted this in 2014 and 2015. We have approximately $500,000 in a reserve also to fund this project in an attempt to avoid borrowing for this. We have a highway snow reserve fund balance of $350,000 at fiscal year end 2014. That balance was up to $500,000, but we needed to transfer $150,000 in February of this year for snow removal and overtime cost. Technology upgrades, there's $33,000 budgeted in the 2016 budget for technology upgrades. We also established a fund for future purchase of a data imaging equipment. There's also continues to be unfunded state and federal mandates, the MTA mobility tax we are still required to pay, as well as MS4 mandate requirements. This is a graph that shows the employee benefit cost increase from 2009 through 2016. The green bar shows the health insurance cost, the health benefits cost to our employees and our retirees. The blue bar shows the retirement increasing from 2009 through 2013 and then decreasing from 13 through 16 slightly. And the workers' comp is the yellow bar that shows the workers' comp increase substantially in 2009 to 2012 and has pretty much leveled off since 2012 to 2016, but has increased slightly. This is a graph showing the mortgage tax revenue from years 2004 through 2015, and it's just continues to decrease. In 2004, it was $3.5 million, and as I said, in the 2016 budget, it's $700,000. This is a pie chart that shows the Carmel townwide budgeted revenues for 2016, and the 82% of the revenues that fund our expenditures is through property taxes. 5% is state aid, and 4% is intergovernment services and revenue. This is a chart that shows the 2016 appropriations by fund. The public safety, which includes the police, traffic control, dog control, and code enforcement, is $9.1 million, which makes up 34.6% of our budget. General government, which is most of our town departments, makes up $5.6 million, which is 21% of our budget. Our transportation and highway is $7.8 million, which makes up 29.7%. And recreation and culture, which is our recreation and our library tax, is $1.5 million, which is 5.6% of our budget. And then we have debt service and community services. This is a chart that shows the total tax bill for a taxpayer in the Mahopac Central School District. This actually is a taxpayer in downtown Mahopac, which is a Carmel Sewer District Number 1 taxpayer and a Carmel Water District Number 1. This is the 2015 taxes. So this particular taxpayer or anybody in that district will see an increase in their sewer district and water district taxes next year due to a capital debt. And just wanted to, just point out the school district taxes are 68% of the taxpayers' tax bill. And in Carmel Sewer, this is a taxpayer in the Carmel Central School District. This is a bill of a house that is assessed at $173,000. This taxpayer, the school district taxes are 62% of their budget, of their tax bill. You'll see this Carmel Sewer District Number 2 here currently is 8% of their tax bill, but because of the bond that was recently paid off, that will decrease next year. And that's it.
Okay.
Any questions?
All right, good job, Mary Ann. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions for Mary Ann while we have her here, the town controller, with respect to the proposed tentative budget for next year? No? Yeah, she's going to stay, yeah. She's going to stick around. Okay. All right. All right, well, there you have it, folks. That's kind of a snapshot of what we're doing for next year in 2016 for the town. It is, obviously, it's more involved than that. This is just, a PowerPoint to give you the numbers that we're looking at with respect to the tax levy and the tax rate increase. But there's a lot more moving parts to the budget, and it's fluid, and it's going to keep moving. And as I said earlier, now it goes to the board, and they decide if they want to make any changes or not. Yes, sir.
What's going on with...
Yeah. If you're going to ask a question, you have to come up to the podium so everybody else can hear you.
My name is David Brown. I've been living here since 1979. In full disclosure, my son is on the Carmel Police Department. My concern is what's going on with the negotiations with the PBA.
Yeah.
I know it's
Mr.
been
Brown,
going up and down, up
Mr.
and
Brown,
down.
that's under new business, that you can come up and discuss that. This is just for the tentative budget right now. So if you have a question regarding negotiations, you can ask it, but you have to ask it under new business.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right? We're just covering the budget right now.
Okay,
Although you may say it is tied to the budget, but I'm going to ask you if you can save that question till new business.
yes, sir.
All right? Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you. Yes, Mike?
Hi, Mike Borelli, a 40-year resident of the town of Carmel. Now, I paid my taxes yesterday like everybody else did in the last day or two. And I've watched and challenged budgets for the last 25 years here, including special districts, including fire department, including everything. Question, how much is budgeted in the 2016 budget for the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department? Is it the same amount as last year?
It is, yes. It's $1,750,000. So 1.750. It's the same number as this year.
Okay. Before I get to my points, I'm going to ask the same question I ask every year. I mean, why are we happy about meeting the cap? What happened to zero? I mean, all of a sudden, we're happy that we met the cap, we met the cap. We don't talk about zero anymore. Zero should be the number, not the cap. And I don't know how to ask you this, but there's just too much smoke around town for there not to be a fire. There are rumors everywhere. And every time I ask somebody, I get a stare and I get a blank look. And I've just heard too many different people that don't know each other saying the same thing. So being careful on how I say this, is there a considerable amount of money missing from the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department that's under investigation of any way, shape, or form?
If you're asking me if there's an investigation that's ongoing with respect to the finances of the Mahopac Fire Department,
Yes.
I can confirm that there is. I met with the commissioners, and they brought me up to speed with respect to the individual that's being investigated for the theft of monies, of funds from the fire department. But aside from that, I can't comment any further on.
That's enough.
I can acknowledge there is an investigation.
That's enough. My statement to the board is that I, as a taxpayer, and I think I can speak for quite a few people, do not want to see this budget ratified or put into place until we have answers of what's missing and where do they go before we give any more. Because the stories I hear, and again, this is rumor, but like I said, I hate to use the pun, there's just too much smoke around town for there not to be a fire. The rumor I hear is that there's over $5 million missing. $5.4 million. And I just find that really mind-boggling. Because if it's true, I want to give you some stats. And am I upset about the theft if it's true? Well, you have no idea how upset I am. But I'm more upset that I watched the firehouse change over the last several years. And there's a lot of good young kids there. And when I say kids, anybody under 40 to me is a kid. And they joined for the right reason. And they probably didn't know anything about this because, you know, in my mind, the old-timers always control the books in any business. And every year, and I remember, I think it was last year or the year before, I think it was Mr. Lupinacci or John or even Frank might have asked them, but when they asked for their books, and they come in and they ask for these raises and these figures, and they're supposed to substantiate them. And I think a year or two ago, they had $180,000, $190,000 on their books. And you guys questioned, how could that be? How is that all there is? How can you take $5 to $5.5 million, segregate it so the town's not aware of it, and every year ask for a raise in the last 10 years, except 2? This one, I don't know if they asked for a raise this year, but this year, obviously the same as last year. In 2013, they didn't ask for a raise. 2014, they asked for a 7% raise. That was when they had their 100th anniversary. I mean, I'm more angered that the people that came in front of you and presented these books, I mean, they defrauded the taxpayers, the town of Carmel and the taxpayers. And I played with some numbers, so please bear with me, because I want you to understand. I'm quite sure you already understand the severity of this. But to not disclose, and I'm going to use the word slush fund, because if they didn't disclose it to you, it's a secret fund. And, you know, I've heard the stories of the dinners and the Lake George, stuff like that. I'm not going into that. We're talking about $5 million plus. Over 10 years, they're up about $500,000 in their budget requests, and they get $1,750,000 of taxpayer money. Am I right? Am I correct? If I say something's not correct, please correct me.
I'm sorry,
If I
can you
say
repeat
something that's
that?
not correct, please correct me.
Yeah, it was one.
$1,750,000.
$1,750,000.
Yeah.
That equals, if the true number's 5.4 million that's missing, that equals 27% of tax increases. In the last 5 years, in 2012, we had our highest tax increase. Everything was crazy then. We all acknowledge that, 8.8. In 2013, 7.9. In 2014, 5.3, last year 2.4, this year coming up 2.6, reasonable, but I'm still not happy with that. That 5-year total equals 27%. 27% tax increase the last 5 years. $5+ million in a slush fund that couldn't have been accumulated in the last 2 or 3 years, had to have been gradually built, equals 27%. So if I'm paying $10,000 in taxes to the town right now, take off a quarter of that, I should be paying about $7,500. That's some serious numbers. Go over to 10, 15,000 homes in this town and businesses. I don't want this budget going anywhere until we know the truth of what's going on and where the money's going and who controlled the money that's missing. And the person that stole it, I tell you, I feel worse for the kids and the people and the volunteers that drive the ambulances, that answer the fires, because I believe 99% of them didn't even know this. And I have a lot of silence, but what are you going to do? You're going to adopt a budget in a month if there's an ongoing investigation and there's that kind of money missing?
Mike, what I will tell you is that there's an active investigation by many different agencies that are involved at this time, and there will be an outcome to this. It's just that it may not happen as quickly as some folks would like it to happen. But I believe there will be an outcome that everybody will understand. And in the end, I think a lot of information that we don't know and that you don't know will come out as a result of the investigation. But we have to let the investigation work itself out. And
Yep, I agree with that.
and
I have
it
no
will.
problem with that. What do we do January 1st, when you're supposed to cut a check for $1,750,000 to an organization that has an investigation going?
Can I answer?
As a taxpayer, I want an answer to that.
Greg wants to comment.
Just what's budgeted in Supervisor Schmidt's tentative budget is an allocation for the cost of fire protection services in Fire Protection District Number 2. That's the number. It mirrors the contract from last year that we had with that vendor, the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department. But the specific contract that the town enters into with the fire department and with Carmel Fire District and with Mahopac Falls and with Carmel Volunteer Ambulance Corporation, they all have to have public hearings before they're ratified and before they're signed.
Between now and January?
The contract actually are done
March.
retro in March for the calendar year, but the checks are not cut till
So
March.
they're funded till this March?
They're funded to the end of the calendar year, but it's retroactive. They'll sign the contracts if the public hearing's held and the contracts are approved. They'll sign them in March, but it does run for the calendar year of services. But right now, what's in the budget is basically an allocation for the fire protection services in that district in the calendar year.
So it basically sits in the town of Carmel's checkbook and bank books.
Till we
For a
cut the
while.
checks, of
Till we
course.
cut the check,
To
yeah.
the
No
respective.
checks will be cut in the next 90 days, is what I'm saying.
That's correct. They won't be cut for about 6 months.
Yep.
5 to 6
March
months.
1st, or the first week in March is usually when the checks are all cut and issued at that point. But that would be after a public hearing is held on the spending for all this. So there will be a public hearing between January 1st and March 1st with respect to the budgeted amount that's being requested.
This is a scary story.
It is. It's scary and it's sad that somebody would do that to their own brother fireman, brother and sister firemen.
Yeah, like I said, I feel bad for the 99% that are innocent on this,
And to the taxpayers.
and all the taxpayers are going to be,
That,
you're talking
So-
about, I just said 25% of your tax bill for the town for the last 5 to 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else regarding the tentative budget? That's in the tentative budget, so that's why I allowed Mr. Borelli to speak, because that 1.75 is part of the tentative, so that's why I allowed that. Anyone else regarding the tentative budget? Okay, no? All right. There being none, We will be having other meetings between now and when we adopt the preliminary budget. That's October 21st. So the board will be working on this, but there'll be work sessions that we'll be discussing the budget at. So if you're interested in the leading up to the preliminary budget, it'll be noticed as we do any other town board meeting, that topic will be discussed as an agenda item on the work session. So just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. Anyone else? No? Okay. All right. We need to close the voting meeting and the tentative budget submission.
So
And we need to move on to the, all right, so moved by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to open a work session.
Second.
So moved by Councilman Lombardi, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the work session is, at this time, the work session is open. First item on the work session agenda is to review of the town board minutes of September 2nd, 9th, and 16th of 2015. Unless any board members wish to comment on the minutes, we're going to move on to number 2. This is to consider additions to the active list of the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department. I have a memo here from Farah Fidel, the corresponding secretary of the Mahopac Fire Department. Ann Spofford, dear Mr. Spofford, the following person has been added to the rolls of the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department: John Joseph Picaris. So this will be on for next Wednesday's voting meeting. Any comment, any questions regarding Mr. Picaris? I happen to know John very well, and I think he's going to be a great asset to the Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department. He's lived in this community for many, many years. His family's been in this community, God, for, I don't know, 60, 70 years. So he's from here, good guy, and he'd be a good asset to the fire department. All right, next, number 3, Mary Ann Maxwell, Town Controller. This is to consider budget revisions for July and August of 2015. And Mary Ann has Michelle Tanafranchi with her tonight. Michelle works she's an account clerk in the Controller's office, and she's going to assist Mary Ann with the budget revisions. Welcome, ladies.
I just wanted to say Michelle did prepare the budget revision, so I'm going to let her go over them. If anybody has any questions, please let us know.
Do you trust her, Mary Ann?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay. Hello, I'm here to present you with the budget revisions for July and August 2015. Just to be clear, these revisions correspond with the current 2015 budget year to date. Okay. Budget revision number 1 is to provide for a temporary loan from the general fund to Water District number 1 for emergency repairs. Budget revision number 14 on page number 2 adjusts the Water District number 1 budget for this loan. Budget revision number 2 provides for an abandoned residential property cleanup. An invoice for this has been issued by the town to the property owner. Budget revision number 4 is to transfer for highway garage and utility expenses. Budget revision number 5 will transfer for miscellaneous recreation expenses.
It's an addendum.
Budget revision number 7 provides for the 2015-2016 CHIPS capital expense from the 2015 New York State budget. Budget revision number 8 will provide for a transfer from the Highway Fund to the Machinery Capital Project Fund. And budget revision number 24 on page number 2 provides for the purchase of the highway machinery. Budget revision number 9 is to transfer for highway part-time temporary staff. Budget revision 10 is a transfer for general government services. And these are annual charges that are distributed among the districts. Budget revision number 11 is to provide for LoSAP contribution in Carmel Fire District number 3. Budget revision number 12 will transfer for the temporary labor expense at Lake Cassie Park District. Budget revisions number 15 and 17 are to transfer and provide for emergency repairs in Water Districts number 6 and number 8. And in Water District number 8, the revision will take funds from the appropriated fund balance. Budget revision number 16 is to provide for the emergency repairs from a lightning strike in Water District number 7, and we have received the insurance check for this. Budget revision number 18 is transferring and providing from the repair reserve appropriation for the purchase of a clarifier for Sewer District number 2 as passed by resolution. Budget revision number 19 is to revise the budget for Sewer District 2 microfiltration chemical expenses. Budget revision number 21, this entry will record the 2015 capital authorization for drainage. Budget revision number 23 carries forward the 2014 project balance for the purchase of machinery. And budget revision number 25 revises the highway special garage capital project budget.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Good.
it.
Good job, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann, do you have anything to add to Michelle's report?
No, Michelle she did a great
Did
job.
a good job.
Yeah,
Okay.
she did.
Thank you. All right, board members, does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the budget modifications for July and August? Nope, okay. Nope, there being none, thank you.
Just
Thanks.
wanted to make sure that this is the 2015 budget revisions to the 2015 budget, not to 2016. So I think that was confused last year.
Yeah, thanks
so.
for clarifying that, Mary Ann. You're right, there was some confusion. Thanks. Okay. All right, you guys are dismissed.
Thank you.
All right. You can stick around if you like. Mary Ann, you probably should. Okay. All right. Okay, number 4, Mike Simone, our highway superintendent, is here to consider to advertise for bids for sand, guide rail, and winter mix. Mike, do you want to come up, or you want me to handle it? You want to take, why don't you take care of it? It's your department.
You were doing such a great
I
job.
know.
Ken. Well, in anticipation, or every year we do this, and again, anticipation for winters, which is coming up. A lot of these materials will be bidding out, which we do every year. And just need your board approval, so.
Okay, all right, great. Thanks, Mike. Any board questions, comments, concerns? No?
Don't ask me for a crystal ball. I have no
No,
idea what
those are
winter's going to
questions.
bring.
And Potter Road's reopened, right?
Potter Road is reopened, yes.
Great, all right, thank you for that. I
Okay.
heard it came out really nice.
It did. It
Yeah,
did.
all right. Okay. That's it, Mike.
Thanks.
Thank you, yeah. Mike, you're dismissed too, if you like. All right, next item is number 5, Rich Franzetti, PE, Town Engineer. Consider requests for proposals for the Lake Cassie Park District maintenance. Is he in planning?
Oh, he's in planning board.
Do we need him?
I don't think so.
Huh? No?
Yeah.
All right.
You do it?
Yeah, Rich is over in planning. You want to handle it, Greg?
He's on his way.
He's coming?
He's coming?
He's got
All
3.
right.
Move on to 8.
Huh? Oh, he's got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. You're up. Yep, Rich, you're up for consider requests for proposals for the Lake Cassie Park District maintenance. And then you could go right on to 6 and 7.
Good evening, Town Board. The Engineering Department wants to make the Town Board aware that the contract for the Lake Cassie maintenance expires at the end of this year. Presently, Bob Krontelnik performs this service for the Town of Carmel at a cost of $12,900 per year, and he has indicated that he will not be bidding in the future. Therefore, we respectfully request that this matter be placed on your next Town Board session so that we can go out for public bid to have this work done at Lake Cassie. And there's a list on our memo that details the various requirements of somebody who has to do the work and what they are required to do, pretty much what Bob Krontelnik does throughout the year.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments regarding the Lake Cassie maintenance contract? No? All right, Rich, so why don't you go on to number 6 then? This is to consider amendment to contract of Severn Trent Environmental Services, STES, for various Carmel sewer districts. Rich?
The Engineering Department has requested that Severn Trent, the operators of Carmel Sewer Districts 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and Water Districts 2, 3, and 12, provide a price to mark water mains in accordance with UFPO requirements. Current STS contracts, which expires on December 31st, 2017, specifically excludes this service. STES provided us information saying that they would provide this service at $100 per hour, which includes labor and equipment for the services. This is similar in scope to one recently approved for the operators of B&J. And therefore, we recommend that the current STES contract be amended to include this additional service.
Okay, all right, any questions from the board? Comments? These are for the utility markouts that are required. It's a call before you dig, and we have to go out and mark our water and sewer utilities. So our operators, Severn Trent and B&J Plumbing, who are the operators of 10 water districts, and Severn Trent operate 3, they're going to be taking care of that task in the future. All right, any questions?
I mean, I have one question. You know, when we did the contract with B&J to include this, that was a new contract that we were entering into, correct?
Correct.
And this amount, or the amount for that service was included in that contract, correct?
It's an additional line item similar to
Right.
this.
What I'm asking is, why are we asking, and again, there may be a good reason, why are we asking for them to provide this service in the midst of a contract? Why can't, and again, you're the expert. Should we wait until the contract expires and then have them included in their contract and see if their price is compatible with someone else's
Well,
for this service?
But Frank, just so you know, Councilman Lombardi, just so you know, the B&J contract has that included as a line item at the same cost.
Right.
So it's not that it changed the number, it's when we ask him to do it, it'll be that way. So we wanted the operators to be able to perform this service. So B&J is going to do it, and ST is going to do it. That's why we're requesting for it to be done now, versus waiting 2 more years before that occurs.
Is the price that they're asking similar to the price that we are getting under that other, the B&J contract?
It's the exact same.
Identical.
Okay.
Yeah.
They control, they provide the operations to the operator for so many districts.
Right.
You have the markouts so frequently that we're thought it'd be cost-effective to have it across both the operators' contracts.
Yeah, they have
That
the
was the
knowledge
idea.
and the know-how and the manpower to do it, so.
Okay, great. Thanks, Frank. Anyone else? Susie, have anything? John, anything regarding this? Okay. All right, Rich, can you go on to number 7 then? This is to consider replacement of a clarifier drive at wastewater treatment plant, Carmel Sewer District number 4.
Severn Trent, the operators of Carmel Sewer District 4, have alerted the engineering department that one of the clarifier drives at this facility has failed. The plant is currently meeting permit. However, if an inspection were to occur by a regulatory agency, it would result in a notice of violation. Should the other clarifier drive fail, the plant would not meet SPDES permit restrictions, resulting in a violation. While we could just repair said repair drive, it makes economic sense to replace other elements of the system that are subject to wear, specifically scum trowels, baffles, and weir plates, while we're actually taking the system down. To that end, STES required and received quotes. The low bid was Dodona LLC for $10,961.79, which is for the necessary parts. We spoke with the town controller, and she indicated that there are sufficient funds in the Carmel Sewer District 4 budget. There's a typo there. There are sufficient funds.
Sufficient, not
Yes,
insufficient.
not insufficient.
There's enough money in the.
There is enough money in this particular line item. I apologize for that. The department recommends that the town board authorize the purchase of this equipment and have STES install it. So there are sufficient funds for the work, though.
Okay, any questions, comments with respect to the new clarifier? Down this side? No? Okay. All right, that's fine. All right, thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
The final agenda item tonight is to consider a final draft for senior recreation and recreation fee study. Greg, I'm going to defer to you on this one, if you can handle that, please.
Sure. Back in 2005, Sicardi and Schiff had provided the town of Carmel with a senior recreation and recreation fee study, basically to analyze and comment on the amount of the senior population of the town of Carmel, the availability and the future availability of senior housing, and the impact of those factors upon the recreation and recreation needs within the town. For the purposes of determining what the scope of the recreation improvements would need to be, and what the appropriate recreation fee would be to impose upon that type of development. That was a 10-year-old study. Within the body of that study, it provided for a periodic update, just so that the information was current with respect to as the population grew and as the actual senior housing was built out. So last year, the town board authorized the update. The board has been provided with a draft of that. I do believe we had, back in June, we had Mr. Schiff actually present at a town board meeting to present the draft study and to take comment and questions from the town board. And what the inquiry now is the board inclined to adopt the draft as a final? And basically, the long and short of it is, there's an analysis of the senior population growth within that time period, and a recommendation for the senior recreation fee on senior housing to be increased from $3,500 per unit to $4,500 per unit, which it's entirely up to the board if you want to adopt it. There's multiple analyses about how to come to a figure, and some lead to potential decreases in the fee, and some lead to potential increases. Their recommendation at the end is basically to increase it to $4,500 per unit. But it's up to the board if you're inclined to adopt it. It will be in that form, and you'd obviously have to incorporate that into your annual fee schedule for senior housing projects. So, we could certainly have Mr. Schiff back. I think the board asked him questions when he was here before, and the draft report hasn't changed. It's something that's been on the punch list of things to do. All right.
Okay. All right.
And you need a resolution to adopt it.
Yeah. Board members, do you have any further questions or comments with respect to the senior rec draft study? Recreation fee study? There was that one change from 35 to 45, right?
Well, that's the recommended.
Recommended.
The study itself has an
Yeah.
analysis of the population and development over that time period. The recommendation regarding the fee is, which is which would ultimately have the effect on the developer or the, not necessarily the residents, but the developer of the property, whoever actually gets the approvals, really. They're not always the same. There would be an increase in the fee if you were to adopt it.
Yeah.
You may modify it dollar-wise in any way you want, but that's the recommendation from Chicardi and Schiff.
All right, well, I'd recommend to move to adopt it, unless the board wants to, discuss it further, that's fine. We can have, as Greg said, Mr. Schiff back. But I think at this point, we've had an opportunity to review it, the draft, and if we're comfortable with it, everyone agrees, we can bring it to a resolution next Wednesday to vote on it. Susie, are you comfortable with it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Frank, you good?
Yeah, let's move it along.
All right, so we'll move it along, Greg, then?
Okay,
Have
I'll
a
do a resolution for next week for you to
Wednesday?
consider.
Okay, great, thank you. All right. Okay, that concludes our agenda items for this evening's work session. Is there any members of the public that would like to come up and comment on the agenda items only at this time that we just covered? So agenda items 1 through 8. I'm going to open up the floor to that right now. Okay, there being none, we're going to go on to the public open forum portion of the meeting, where the public can come up and speak and address the board with respect to any town-related business. You must be a resident, a taxpayer, or a business owner to address the board during the open forum business portion of the meeting. So, does anybody like to come up and with new business?
Kenny, could I just request
Sure.
the board, can we modify that? Because there's police officers here that I don't know if they all live in the town of Carmel, but since they are employees of the town of Carmel, they should, as employees, have the right to speak. So even though it is usually residents, business owners, I do believe that the employee should have a right to speak.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Is that fine?
no, I have no problem with that. Where did Mr. Brown go?
Sat down.
Oh, did you want to come up now? Yeah? Okay. I think everybody was waiting to hear from you. Okay.
You got nervous that we weren't going to let you speak, right?
Oh, no, Mama Jabara was going to give me her 3 minutes. She lives in town. I had a contingency plan.
Nice.
The reason I'm John Dearman, president of the PBA, and the reason why we came out here tonight, it's a mix mosh of, it's going to cover the budget and new business, and if it's regard to the second letter that the town board has sent to the county executive and the sheriff regarding services and requests for help. pretty much this entire year, we're kind of getting mixed signals, and we'd rather just put it out on the table now and let's see where we stand and let's go with it. Because the first letter, Supervisor Schmidt was involved in spearheading the study for county police feasibility study. It's sort of been that thing. And then in the second letter, Supervisor Schmidt doesn't sign it. The town board's asking for the sheriff's department to send a car, take over a sector. The membership, we're getting mixed signals. We don't know what's going on, and we would rather just know. We haven't had a new hire since 2012. So between being down 6 police officers, now hearing that we're going to lose a sector car or a sector to the sheriff's department, it's starting to appear, and a reasonable person could surmise that it's a slow dissolution of the police department, and it's just step by step trying to break it down until there's not much left, and then you can just give the rest away. And we would just like to hear from the board, what are your plans? Let's put our cards on the table and do it publicly.
Sure. If you read the article, it's in the Mahopac News. I'm wondering if we should read the letter. Basically, the second letter that went to the county correlates with the first letter in that we are asking for our fair share of police service from the sheriff's department. The residents of Carmel pay county tax. Part of that county tax goes towards resourcing the sheriff's department. And if you look at a comparison basin from the other, I believe it's 9 municipalities, 6 towns, some villages.
6 towns and 3 villages.
3 villages. If you look at it, 2 of the 9 municipalities, Kent and Carmel, have their own police department, but the other municipalities either don't have a police department or a part-time police department, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I speak out of content. And if you look at the ones that do not have a police department or have a part-time police department, it's clear that the sheriff, understandably, sheriff department, this is not Sheriff Smith. When I say sheriff, I'm talking sheriff department, is patrolling and doing an array of services for those other municipalities. The board, doing our jobs and trying to stay within the cap, understanding that we need resources in the town of Carmel, said we need to get our fair share, and we are looking for the sheriff to come in and help. One reason why we mentioned the sector is because we do not want, and a rotating sector, and I will tell you, because Kenny and I spoke to the undersheriff, we don't want the sheriff's department just to say, we'll do the hamlet because we reside in the hamlet of Carmel, because that would not be fair to the taxpayers of Mahopac or Mahopac Falls. Or the hamlet, because then the hamlet would be like, well, wait a minute, we're paying Carmel taxes, but we don't see a Carmel car come into the hamlet. So we also are asking and we're going to meet with the sheriff, as the article said, and we asked in the letter. We're going to meet with the sheriff to try to figure out logistically how to do it, which would offer the chief the best way or the most optimal way, because there's never a perfect way, but trying to get the most optimal way of scheduling. And if the sheriff just says, okay, I'm going to send a car into Carmel, and that car goes anywhere, that may hinder the sheriff's ability to schedule accordingly. But if we define it to a sector, and it will vary, and again, the devil's in the detail, and we really haven't sat down with the sheriff yet to work it all out, and the chief is going to be there also to work it out. So one reason why we asked for the sector was so that we are allowed to schedule. We are looking to get our fair share, rightfully so, because I don't think one taxpayer would say we should pay money to the sheriff's department and get no services. Back in February, we had a town board meeting where we had a group of people come, the Chamber of Commerce dealing with the signs. A lot of business owners, and even if they rented or own their own business, they said that they're being taxed twice, once as a homeowner and once as a business owner, be it if they own the building or if they rent. Rent obviously is going to offset some of the taxes that the landlord has to pay. So they commented that they're being taxed twice. Well, how would you feel that if you're being taxed twice and you're not getting anything for your service, Or, I shouldn't say that, because the sheriff's department does provide service. Let me make that clear. The sheriff's department absolutely provides services. But they're not, in my opinion and some of the board's opinion, they're not providing equal or the same. And when the sheriff comes in, and we could have this article written right now, and the sheriff's going to come in next Wednesday, and I mentioned it to Mr. Connery already, I'd like a grid, a little matrix. The municipality's going, all of the sheriff's activities, everything the sheriff department does, going down, 1 through whatever, 15, 10, whatever it does. And then on the top, go across all of the 9 municipalities, and you get a matrix. And what does Put Valley get? Do they get 6 cars that patrols 24/7? Does Carmel get any cars? And I'm making numbers up, so if I say 6 cars or 2 cars or whatever, but does Carmel get the same amount of cars as Put Valley? Because I, as a taxpayer of Carmel, is paying the same amount of money as the taxpayer of Put Valley. Does Southeast get a certain number? Now, if you start to see that a function or a task is not equal across the board, then we are going to represent our taxpayers, and we're going to ask for, again, our fair share. So that was, that's really the reason why we asked for this. This is to supplement the police department. It's to help the police department. If you remember during, John, you clearly remember, and some officers also will remember, that we had minimum manning changes and looking at, because overtime was really getting high, and we've worked out a minimum manning procedure, but with guys being short, that procedure has subsided, which is understandable because guys are short, or we're short manpower. But, if minimum manning, we're always going to try to have at least 4 cars out on the road. And if one of them happens to be the sheriff, because we asking and we're getting our fair share, I don't think the taxpayers are going to be objective of that. If we have 4 Carmel cops, police officers, and we have a sheriff car, well, that means now the residents are actually getting 5 cars out on the road, whereas they're, again, getting their fair share and they're getting services for their tax dollars. Again, this is to supplement the police department or the policing force. If you read the article, I clearly wrote this is not to get rid of or hinder the Carmel Police Department. I understand human nature, and I see some smiles out there. I understand some human nature that you may see differently. I will just remind you, and a couple of you I spoke personally to, about the ERT. 3 years ago, we went out to the county and said, ERT, again, is not being represented. Carmel is not getting reimbursed for ERT services when we send Carmel police officers out to a county-wide initiative. They came up with $90,000, 45 goes to the sheriff, 45 is divided between Kent and Carmel. Even though Carmel provides more ERT service than Kent, I think everyone would agree to that. A couple police officers came up to me and said, what are you doing about ERT? Why are you looking to get rid of us? I'd like to add that that was close to 2 years ago, and has ERT been disbanded?
No.
It's still there, and all we did was go to the county and say, hey, guys, county, who was the gentleman, you always say the story the best, Kenny, the gentleman from Long Island that...
Mr. Kim.
Mr. Kim passed away from a lead poison to his head in the Hudson River. That cost us $13,000. It cost the taxpayers $13,000 that... Carmel. Taxpayers of Carmel, $13,000 to send our troops, our resources to Cold Spring to work on a county initiative. Listen, I agree with that, because you want to collaborate and be, Carmel should help Kent, Kent should help Carmel, Carmel and Kent should help the sheriff. Absolutely. But when it comes down to it, we should look at the county and say, okay, wait a minute. If we just help protect Cold Spring from where Mr. Kim fell into the river, shouldn't we get reimbursed? So we went to them and said, hey, help us out. Now, they came up with a $90,000 and how they prorated or shared between the three departments. They've done that. But we went there and we got a little bit more money. We're not covering our costs, but we got a little bit more money. And again, the ERT team is not disbanded. But we did have to go there and say, guys, what are you doing about our ERT expenses? We are, I hate to say it, but we are within a 2% cap error. You saw taxes are going up, close to 3%, 2.6%, driven by $500,000 in general expenditures. if we could look for a way to provide the same services to the town of Carmel residents for the same or less taxes, I think that's our job to do that, and I think everyone did agree. Kenny will have to explain, or can explain for himself on why he didn't do it, and I respect his decision. But we are asking the county to equivalize things and help us out. So again, we're not looking to terminate you, I don't know what I could tell you outside of the ERT example and outside of what I said in the article, or any of us can tell you. What happens in the future, John? I'm not trying to play semantics. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have a job, not here, but in my 9-to-5 job. I don't know. Do we have a master plan? We do not have a master plan to eliminate or terminate the police department. So, I mean, that's really all I could tell you. I apologize to you when we spoke on the street a couple days ago that if the police department feels like a pawn because we're constantly going to the county with ERT and with that, I will sincerely apologize to the guys and to you. But there's no master plan to eliminate you. The master plan is to represent the town of Carmel taxpayers and get their fair share and try to provide services, the same services, if not more, at a reasonable tax base. And if you're paying for something, let's get service. So I'm sorry I rambled, but now you guys could.
Yeah, I just want to add something. How I look at it is, it wouldn't matter to me if we had 100 police officers in the town of Carmel. I would still go and ask for the sheriff, because we are paying over $7 million to the sheriff's department. We should get $7 million worth of services. I don't know how. I'm not the chief. I am not a police officer. I would not want to get involved with the scheduling or how to do it. But I am not getting rid of you guys. I don't want you guys gone, okay? But if I'm paying for taxes to something, it's just like if you go shopping. If you're going in there and you're paying for a $100 sweater, and you come out with a half a sweater, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just getting what we are paying for. It has no bearing on the police officers, the town of Carmel police officers. They're wonderful. You guys are great. We're trying to work together. And thank you for coming up here, because there's a lot of rumors. I got phone calls and all. And again, we apologize for them. You guys can always call me, and I can give you what I feel. I have no intention of getting rid of the Carmel police officers, the Carmel Police Department.
If I could just add, just for the record and make it clear, this is also not against the sheriff's department to say that we're not getting our services. They're trying, and they have limited resources. And I'm not going to listen, you could blame me, because I'm in this seat for 3 years, and we're finally writing this letter looking for a fair share. What happened in the past happened in the past. Some administrations have told the sheriff in the past, don't come into Carmel, we don't need you. The sheriff, understandably being human, took his resources and went elsewhere. Me personally, speak for myself, if I was in his shoes and someone told me I don't need your help, but I had limited resources, I'm going to take my resources and go somewhere else and give them to the other taxpayers. But that was a wrong. And I think the sheriff department, I hope the sheriff department sees that, because he always talks about corruption in Putnam County. And this isn't corruption, but again, we're not being fairly represented or treated. They do a great job, the sheriff department. You guys do a great job. So this is not negative, but absolutely understand where you're coming from, human nature, and I understand your thinking. It's not our intent to hurt you. I mean, this actually, as the article said, we talked about potential layoffs 3 years ago. This here, there's no layoffs. There's no reduction, because, we're going to have supplement, which is going to help us provide the same level of service, and it's going to help control our tax base within Carmel. So, I mean, this is actually going to protect the current employees' jobs. So,
I have follow-up questions, but I just don't know if you ate up my 3 minutes or not.
Can I,
Well,
can I answer, John, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Does it count against my 3 minutes? Because
No.
John ate them up
You're
and then
kinda
some.
suspended.
no,
Thank
no,
you.
no,
You
you
can have
have,
my
you have
time.
multiple minutes from Mama Chabara, so.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Not you, but Mama Chabara gets multiple minutes.
So, obviously, there's several members of the police department who have been to my home, who have called me over the 6 years, and know how much I support the police department, okay? So for anybody to come up and say that, you know, I was gonna close the police department and thinking about it, they're just wrong, because that's not the fact. Now, I'm gonna tell you a little story. So, over the weekend, I ran into an old friend of mine who I've known for probably, since I moved here, okay? And he's in the room, okay? And he walked by me, gave me a kind of a lukewarm handshake, and normally he would basically hug me and, you know, and say hello. So I said to him later on, I said, you know, I don't know what you heard. I said, but let's go talk. So we talked about the letter, and I told him that the first part of it was just basically asking for something that the governor has money for the consolidation study. Whether it happens or not, who knows? We just asked for a study. Is that so bad? And I think you and I have actually spoken many times that the police department membership would probably welcome a county police department. You'd be part of the discussions if it was to ever happen, and everybody's job would be protected, and there'd be room for advancement and the whole bit. But is that going to happen? Who knows? Second part of it was my decision to sign the letter and to ask for more is to supplement the police department. I don't know if you know this, but I speak to Chief Kazari probably 2 to 3 times a week. As liaison to the police department, that I feel that's my responsibility, and the fact that I support him and his endeavors, I speak to him all the time. And he will tell you the same thing, how much I support him and how much I support you, the men and women in the police department. My discussion with this gentleman was basically to supplement what our police department is doing now. So Susie gave the number of $7.5 million. So this person had no idea that $7.5 million of Carmel taxpayer money goes to the sheriff's department. And how much do we get back? I have no idea. But I do know that not only do people in Carmel pay for police protection, they also pay for sheriff's protection. So if you combine the numbers, you're at $16 million, okay? Now, so my suggestion to him was that, you know, since we had some overtime and since we had these kind of things, it would be up to the chief to work with the sheriff's department if he had a struggle in his schedule that somebody called in sick and he couldn't get somebody to come in and cover overtime and, you know, what are we supposed to do with this particular sector? Hey, you know what? Call the sheriff's department, see if they can fill in for you, help you out. And you know what, Chief? If you can get some help in some of those different areas, the chief and I have been talking, and I'm sure he's told you, about a lot of community outreach programs. We've gone to different groups. We've gone to speak at people's homes and in different neighborhoods. And in fact, we're going somewhere on Monday night to talk about some safety issues in town. So those are some things that he wants to work on. He can maybe bring some things, new plans that he has into the police department. And if we can supplement the police department now by a little help when he needs it, and again, he fully understands when there's a struggle with his schedule, to supplement what you men and women do, then I'm all in favor of it. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't be in favor of using the resources that we pay out to the county to get some of it back into Carmel. And there's been a lot of stuff on social media talking about, you know, one particular person who was, I don't mind saying it, who was involved in county government for many years, you know, talks about Carmel Blue Matters. And maybe he thinks that he's the only one that thinks that it does, but I'm sure as hell going to tell you that it matters to me, and I know for a fact that it matters to every single person on this board. But I kind of wondered, you know, in this discussion with this gentleman, I said, do you know other municipalities in Westchester and Dutchess, what they generate in sales tax, they get something back? He had no idea that the town of Carmel and the towns in Carmel, the towns in Putnam, do not get any sales tax revenue back from the town. So imagine, John, you patrol downtown Mahopac, right? You patrol the hamlet of Carmel, all the business districts. And you know what? You guys keep them safe. And because you guys keep them safe, people come and shop there, they spend money there, and they pay the county, what is it, 8.75% tax rate right now? So we've had this discussion many times, and I've always said that I would love to see everyone here go up to a county meeting, their budget is now too, and demand 1% of the sales tax revenue that's generated by the town of Carmel. I don't know how much that is because they don't have that figure, or they at least haven't given it to me when we've asked for it. 1% Mike, would give you a 0 tax increase. Do you know that? Okay? So instead of spreading rumors about the fact that we are looking to close the police department, let's put it to use and let's go up to the county and say, you know what do we have to do to really get our fair share? Our neighbors, Yorktown, Somers, up in Dutchess, they get their sales tax revenue back. I'm not asking for a percentage of what the entire county provides back. I'm asking for what does Carmel, what do the services of the men and women of the police department, of our fire departments, let's get a percentage of services, let's get a percentage of sales tax revenue based on the services that you guys already provide to them. We wouldn't be having any financial difficulties and discussions about taxes. And I've talked about this from day one, but people have said, oh, we'll go up to the county and talk about it. I've talked to legislators about it. Oh yeah, well, we'll come up with the formula. Hasn't happened. Now, we do have 5 legislators who are part of the town of Carmel, 5 out of 9. Hasn't happened. So if you want to join me in that, we will never have a discussion about tax increases ever again. And so to this gentleman who I met over the weekend, he understood everything that I said. He was confident in the fact that I was not looking to close the police department. Far from it. And we did leave with a hug. All right? And we understood each other. He understood me. I understood him. And I told him, John, you have my cell. Many guys in this room have my cell. Many have been to my home. You have a question, a rumor comes up, call me. We've talked before. How many times have we spoke, you and I, John? Many, many times.
I know you and I talk, but the guys need to hear it in a public forum.
No, that's fine. But
you and me on a cell phone
But
is,
you and me speak.
as a cop thinking is,
Officer,
you can tell me whatever you want on a cell phone. There's no
Lots of
proof.
discussions with Officer Chabarro. One of the officers is my neighbor. You all know where I live. Come ask. You have my cell. If anybody needs it, by all means. I'm here every Wednesday. You can reach me anytime. But please don't let rumors get between us. We are one team. I don't know what more I need to say that how much we support you guys, and we know that you guys do a dangerous job. I don't know what else I can say, except for the fact that it's just not in me to say to you, we're closing the police department, because it's not on anyone's agenda.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
I hope I've answered some of your questions and concerns, but if I haven't, call me tomorrow, John. Come over to my house. I think I might still have a beer that you brought last time you were over.
Yeah, you still got that giant thing out front, though, so I'm not going over it.
Well,
Get rid of the Giants thing. Okay. Is the chief going to be at the meeting with the sheriff in executive
invited, yes.
session? He was invited? Okay. Because again, another thing that fueled the rumor was when the chief wasn't CC'd. Like, again, it's not just rumors, it's little things that if you start adding them up, like when he wasn't CC'd on the letter,
but
all these stupid little things start adding up and adding up, and then
I can understand.
it's not
I
just,
can
blatant
understand,
out of the
but
blue rumor.
The fact of the matter is, the chief was invited to the meeting, and I actually spoke to him, what's today, Wednesday? I already spoke to him 2 times.
And I'm asking that because I'm not even going to start getting into all the logistical nightmares of a deputy who has different bosses trying to cover a sector in town under, if I'm working under, like, they can give you all the nightmare scenarios, but I'll just touch on one thing. If he does give you a car, are you planning on leaving the manning at 1 sergeant and 3 officers, or is the plan to drop it down from 1 sergeant and 2 officers? And I'll bring that point up because Yes, Southeast gets a car, Patterson gets a car, Putnam Valley gets a, those guys aren't beholden to that town. And during the course of a shift, they will leave it several times because of having to do other things. So if he's gonna say, yeah, I'm giving Carmel a car to cover one of your sectors, but he's not beholden to stay here, and you're either leaving, and then you reduce manning, now you're leaving the short-staffed Carmel cops to pick up the slack from when they go, and you're leaving parts of the town uncovered that would normally have been covered, and it's not fair, again, back to those parts of the
John,
town.
I think one of the things that we asked for in the letter, if there is ever a need for the sheriff to patrol a sector, is to have a dedicated car.
Again, Southeast gets a dedicated car, but then they
No, but,
they go.
well, again, listen, I'm not a cop, I'm not an officer.
It's not because they're
I'm
just
not-
screwing around,
No, no.
they have to go, they go.
Right, right.
And it's,
I'm gonna leave that kind of stuff to the people who know policing better than I do, and I've told that to the chief, and that's why I believe he's coming to our meeting, to kind of go over this kind of stuff. I don't know all the problems that could arise. He does, because he has vast experience. I'm sure you guys will come up with different scenarios that we haven't, me personally, I can speak for myself, have no idea what could possibly, different scenarios that could occur. But, it's worth discussing to supplement police and police safety in town.
listen, having a sheriff's car floating around to back us up is, I don't think any of our guys are ever gonna complain about it.
I
But,
would think
I
you
got
would.
one budget question for Kenny. How many new hires do you have in the budget for this year?
2.
What happened to
Two-
3?
two for the- there
What
were-
happened to 3?
You're right, there were 3, but the chief changed his budget request within the last couple of days. They included the clerical position back in the budget. He included he originally had taken it out, and there was a scenario where it was going to be covered by someone else, his administrative assistant position. But he asked for that to be put back in. So the salary and benefits went back into the budget. And you know what, John, I wanted to keep 3 in there, I did, but because when the chief came back and increased his spending by adding that position and the benefits, I had to,
Is that your final answer? Is the chief gonna be able to talk to you more about that?
Oh, it's not.
It's not.
no, it's not final.
resolved.
No, I mean, there's definitely 2 in there for next
He's,
year.
he's gonna phone a friend.
He needs to.
But could it go to 3? Yeah, it could go to 3. It could go higher.
Because you understand those 3 guys who wouldn't even be hired till probably halfway through next year would cover the secretary spot, right? You got that?
Yeah, got that, yeah. And do you want me to explain why I didn't sign the letter?
Do you want to explain why you
Yeah,
didn't sign
I'll
the letter?
explain.
'Cause-
Sure.
Go ahead.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Go ahead.
I
wasn't done, but go ahead.
You
Way
know
to
what, it was-
segue into it. I was going to throw it up there for you.
It was
but-
brought up a couple of different times, and I have no problem telling anyone that, from my point of view, it was not the responsibility of the town board to ask for help from another police agency. It could be from a fundamental beliefs that I have, operational beliefs and principles, but I think if there's a request for help from another agency, that it should come from the chief of police. That's how I feel, and, I'll stand by that. And I think had the chief's name, had he signed that letter, I probably would have signed it alongside of him. But when the chief did not sign it, I felt that it wasn't in my, authority that I should sign the letter and request. Not that John, from what was requested, I can understand the rationale behind that. It's just that help was being requested in the form of a sector coverage, for the town of Carmel, sectors A, B, and C. And I just felt that's something that I couldn't endorse unless the chief was asking for it, and the chief did not ask for it.
Yeah, well,
'Cause he
again,
didn't
I
sign
think I
the letter.
pointed on the major problem that's going to rise with that type of coverage as far as who's beholden to the town and who really isn't beholden to the town. So that you guys can work out in the meeting. I think that's about it. I didn't get to see, is this the 4th year in a row the police budget hasn't gone up? I didn't get to see it from fully out this year.
Hasn't gone up?
No.
It's about 4.5, 4.4.
The police budget went up 4.5% this
No,
year?
no, no, I'm sorry. The
what
overall
Kazari
police
put in
budget
for.
is, in Kenny's police budget, or Kenny working with Mary Ann and the chief, the overall police budget is $8,456, if I just saw the number before.
8,445,000.
445, sorry. It was off by one.
What was the 9.1 on the,
That included
That includes
corporate fire districts
code
and stuff.
enforcement
'cause
and
that
stuff
would've-
like that.
Yeah.
that might have led some people to believe that that was the police budget.
That's the grouping that it goes in the budget.
And is that up from last year or no? Or has it been pretty flat like the last 4 years?
It's
I
up.
gotta take into effect the overtime.
There's overtime, right.
It's up 1.1%.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else like to come up under new business at this time? Come on up.
Is Bob coming up?
I thought Bob was coming up.
Bob?
Oh, Bob Folders.
Oh,
Hi, Mike Borelli again. For the record, living here 40-some-odd years and raising a family here and running my business off of Route 6, and my family running their businesses off of Route 6, we are 110% in favor of keeping our local police department. I don't think you had the intention of getting rid of it. But the problem here is the same problem that I ask every 2 months for the last 3 years, that they don't have a contract. And that's the fault of everybody in this room,
Both parties.
okay? It's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's everybody's fault. Why are we talking, or why are we waiting for arbitration, which has been a joke, a waste of money, a waste of everything, distrust between both parties, animosity, every word I could possibly use except good was used in that process. Why aren't we talking about was that arbitration ends, I think, last year or this year, right? Whoever wins or loses, if there's a winner and a loser. You're still behind a year plus this year. My question to you is this: why aren't you negotiating into the future? Whatever happened to the 5-year plan? Okay?
I have the same question.
Okay? Why aren't we talking about a contract out to the year 2020? Because I'm getting really tired of hearing about the police in the town of Carmel and the police in the town of Carmel. There's going to be so much bad news coming out for the town of Carmel in the next 12 months. It's going to be embarrassing. And what would offset it would be to see a contract that goes out 5 years. I mean, I really think you guys should be sitting in a room starting tomorrow and talking. And I see no reason as a businessman, with some things I see changing locally, that it can't be done. I believe it can be done. I've talked extensively with both sides. And I know what's in their head. I think I know what's in your head. And on a business aspect, it can be done. And we're still here. They're worried about their job. And I'm 110% supporting the police department. I'm 125% wanting my money from the county. Okay, because they've been shafting us for a very long time. So supplement it, that's fine, but enough of this contract talk from 2 years ago. I haven't heard one person talk about 2015, 2016, 2017. You guys, you can't run a town like this. You have to know where they're going to be 5 years out. Highway Department's right behind them. They have to know where they are 5 years out. And I see no reason why it can't be done. Just go in a room and get it done. Thank you.
thanks, Mike. Anyone else like to come up?
I don't know if he wanted to answer it.
No.
or not. It's okay.
Who's coming up?
Buck. Buck?
How you doing? My name is Robert Buckley. I live in Mayapack. Mahopac, some people like to call it, but I call it Mayapack. Guess I'm a newbie. But anyway, I'm here to say I support our local police department 100%. And if there's a fight to be had down the road, I'm going to be standing with them 100% because I think we need a local police department. I think one of the biggest things I heard up here was you're going to have all these meetings with the sheriff and the chief, and I thought the major thing missing in that component was, and I've been a union president for a long time for a law enforcement organization for over 16 years, and I always sat in those meetings. And I don't know how you could be meeting with the sheriff and the chief and talking about consolidation or bringing outside help from a different department in, and not having the union president in from the local Carmel Police Department and have them part of the talks. They should not be receiving information secondhand. Every time I go to events in this town, whether they're political, civic, Republican committee, which I'm on, I hear the discussions. So I know you say nobody wants to consolidate, nobody wants to get rid of the police department, but you want to know what? There are enough players in the town who are advocating for that, and they use intimidation tactics. And that's why some of the discussions go on. I'm not accusing anybody here, but the discussions do go on, and people are whispering who's going to be the next county police commissioner, who wants to be the sheriff. The negativity that is, you got a police force in this town that is fearful for their jobs. And that's a terrible thing to go through, to be working every day and not knowing if you're going to go to work one day and all of a sudden you're going to find out we're going to consolidate and 25% of the police force is no longer going to have a job. You say that's not your plan, and I believe you, but you really need to reiterate your point to the union members of the police department, and more importantly, to the union president, so he can disseminate that information, because the information coming out now, it seems like, I hate to say this, it seems like the board is really, would like to do away with the police department or consolidate. I've heard what you all said up here. You said it up here real nicely. You said it pretty clearly. But when you go on the blogs and you hear different things and how you interpret letters, there's a lot of stuff going on, guys. And I'm just going to say it and tell you, I'm really advocating that you strongly communicate with the PBA and make sure they're in the loop. And look, the chief is a really nice guy, but at the end of the day, the chief, he's caught between a rock and a hard place. He has to answer to you, Mr. Supervisor, as his boss, and town board as his boss. But then again, he has to respect the men and women that he is the chief of. And he's not going to sell his men and women down the drain. So sometimes he's put in a bad spot. And I can only assume why he didn't sign that letter. But I wouldn't sign it, because as the chief, if he sells his men and women out, he's finished. He's got to back his men and women. And you got to make sure you guys give him the ability to do that job and support him. And I just want to say for the record, I think the most important thing you can do is keep dialogue out with the PBA and don't let things go through rumors. I just think that's really important, all right? Thank you very much.
Kenny, I just
We
want
have
to,
another gentleman.
yeah, no, I just want to respond, because, Bob, when you came up, it almost sounded like we still want to get rid of the police department. I want to make it very clear to everyone here and to everyone out there that is listening. You should have heard it tonight. We have absolutely no intentions of getting rid of the Carmel Police Department. There is no intention of it. The only thing that we have an intention of is getting the $7 million worth of services that we pay to the sheriffs. That's it. That's it. We want the police department. To me, it shouldn't even be discussed, because it's a no-brainer. Of course we want them. And if people read, I'm sorry if people are reading it wrong. That is not my intention or anybody's intention here. So every one of you sitting here and every one of you out there need to stop the rumors and start being positive so we can continue to work together. We have no intentions, as long as I'm here, and I've been here 54 years, and I plan on being here another, 50, 104, who knows. But no intentions, as long as I am here. This is my town, this is my police department. You guys and Laura, gals, you're part of the family here, part of the Carmel family. So please, let's stop the negative, let's stop the rumors. We have no intentions, let me make it loud and clear, of getting rid of the Carmel Police Department. We do have intentions of getting what is rightfully owed to us by the county. That is it. So I just needed to make that clear, because it just seems that you just made it unclear that what we, or me, I don't want to talk for everybody.
Go to the
Yeah.
mic.
Come to the mic,
Oh,
Bob.
he's got a booming voice.
I know he has a booming voice, but they need to hear.
Yeah, that was for you, Bob.
No, I know, she directed at me. Listen, I hear what you're saying, and I think everybody in this room hears what you're saying. It seems like your argument or your disagreement is with the county. Do not use the police as pawns in your, one second, don't shake it. I'm saying to you, the police seem to be being used as pawns right now with the issue, whether it's the sales tax revenue, because I heard that came up, whether the town's not getting this share. You know, you can use a lot of issues where the county can do a lot of things to help the town. I'm just saying, I think it's really unfair to put the PBA and the police officers in the middle of it and make it seem like they're the issue. If there's an issue with the county, you guys should deal with the county and leave the police out of it and go negotiate with them separately. And it shouldn't be a police issue. If you think you're not getting your fair share of your sales tax revenue, why does it have to be the police? Why can't it be just the money across the board?
Because it's over $7 million to the,
7.5.
$7.5 million to the sheriff's office. So I'm not gonna go ask the county, hey, give me 1% of my sales tax and then only get $5 million worth of sheriff. No, if we're paying over $7 million for sheriffs, what I would actually love, I would actually like a refund. Whatever.
You're stealing
you-
my idea now.
No, actually,
I
you know
gotta
what
tell you,
I'm
it's
saying?
being,
And you're
I
right,
hear what
they-
you're saying, but I think it's horrible that it's being negotiated on TV and in the media and not behind closed doors with the PBA president, where maybe you can get some constructive things done right now. Because right now, I think we're going down a bad path right now.
Yeah, but
And I don't know if
Bob,
it's gonna
Bob,
get-
we didn't ask for this. We sent the letter to the county, and then the letter got out to the public, to the media, and that wrote this article. I mean, we didn't ask for this on TV. We didn't ask for the news media to be, we sent the letter of consolidation. We sent the letter for services.
So the good thing is dialogue. Everybody here agrees that we should keep our police department, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Everybody here agrees to that?
I really don't know how to say it.
I want to make sure. I mean,
I've
no, I
said
just
it.
wanted, because it's good to hear that. That's one of the most
But you know
important
what?
things.
I'd
I
like
gotta
to
be
be
honest-
positive.
I gotta be
and
honest with you, I don't know where it ever came from.
There's nowhere in the letter does it
I
say
don't
that.
know
Listen,
where it
it's
started.
interpretation, dialogue, what's been going on, a lot of things. Listen, you're talking
Listen.
about people that are fearful for their jobs, paying their mortgages, feeding their family. They have a right to be here. They have a right to be concerned. If you hear this, a lot of times you hear things on the street, ABC, next thing you know, it happens. It all starts with rumors and dialogue. And then all of a sudden, if they say, why didn't you act early? So you know what? They're here acting early. I'm here as a resident. You guys know I'm with the Affiliated Police Association, Westchester. I represent 52 PBAs. So Carmel's not part of our organization, but I really feel for them. I live in this town. And I know all four of you personally. I've spoken to you all offline. But I'm saying it on the record now, I support these guys 100% and gals, and I really think you should make the PBA president and the PBA more parts of the talk behind the scene. I think you'll get more productivity done, not letting it all trickle down. With all due respect to the chief, it shouldn't trickle down to the chief, because the chief works for you. He's part of the administration. The PBA is separate from the administration. They need to be involved with the talks, and I think things will move along a lot better. That's my opinion, all right?
Bob, let me just say that we're all unified. We're all aligned in the fact that we do not want to eliminate, downsize, or disband the Carmel Police Department.
Well, that's why we're here
I
tonight.
could tell you, it will not happen. It'd be the cold day in hell that happened under my watch. I work for the Carmel Police Department. A lot of these guys that are in here now, I worked with for years. I'm not going to let that happen. It's just not going to happen.
So you know why everybody's here? They want to hear that.
If you could dispel those rumors out there.
No, it's good that, listen, don't get insulted. Everybody wants to hear it. I want to hear it. They want to hear it. It's good that you're saying it for the record. Thank you very much.
It will not happen,
But
as far as I'm
listen,
concerned.
I'm not going to try, and you could stay there, Bob, if you want, or John can come
All
back.
right, take-
You know, we still, and I said this 3 years ago, we still have to find a fair and balanced equilibrium. We hire another, and I know I just heard snickering again. We could snicker all you want. You saw $500,000 up on that board that's raising taxes 2.6. If we keep hiring, if we don't do something, if we're going to just say nothing's going to happen and everything's going to stay status quo, then raise that to $2.2 million and just keep letting the tax increase go up. There's a balance. And sadly, and Mr. Borelli alluded to it, and I'm the fault, I'll only speak for myself, because I was one part of the negotiating team. But Mr. Borelli was right. there's a lot to blame to go around, and I'll speak for myself. I was wrong. I think there's other people wrong too. But when that negotiation breaks down and we go to arbitration, it's then tough to also now have a secondary negotiation or dialogue on the consolidation or on shared services from the sheriff. Conceptually, I agree with you and I get your point, but we don't live in, unfortunately, we don't
But
live in
that's
a
separate
utopic
from the
world.
collective bargaining agreement, what you're doing now. So those are two different issues. And
It-
if you want to go back
should
to the
be.
table with
It
the
should be.
PBA, and the PBA wants to sit down and talk to you, you both have a right before the arbitrator rules to sit down and have a discussion. So that, Mr. Borelli was 100% right on that. We've done that many times before. So, and I think what I did hear the PBA president say when he was up here, I did hear him say, he didn't say no, no, no. He brought some concerns up and said how he thought it should happen, which then should lead to some dialogue, and maybe if you sit down and sit with him, maybe you can work it out. But he has to be involved with the negotiations and the discussions, because there are collective bargaining agreements on both sides. And like he said, when you got a chain of command, you got a Putnam sheriff answering to an undersheriff and a sheriff and his captain, and over here, chain of command is a major issue in law enforcement. So there are some major issues that have to be dealt with, and that's why you need to speak to the PBA president. He didn't say no, no, no. I want to be clear. He was very good up there. He said, there are some issues. So I think that should lead to some discussion.
And we didn't say that there's a demise.
Right. Okay.
That
So that's
everyone
good.
keeps interpreting.
So Susie, I'm sorry if you got so offended by that, but you know what? It needs to be brought out in the air. It's good we're having this dialogue, and I hope when the PBA leaves here tonight, they feel better knowing that hopefully you guys are sincere and you got their back, and they'll figure this thing out. Thank you for my time.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, I'm sorry. Oh,
He's clairvoyant.
all right. Other than Mr. Brown, is there anybody else that would like to come up and address the board? This is your opportunity. You can't get two bites of the apple.
No.
I got more residents here. McCabe will give me his 3
All right, who's going to yield time to John?
And the town employees can...
All right, go ahead, John.
Okay. It's not just that it was, the town rumor mill grinding, and I think everybody understands what you guys went through over the last 4 years and the recession and the institution of the 2% tax cap. We are living in a 2% tax cap era. That's the name.
Thank you.
Okay, but there's also been, we're down 6 or 7 cops, the boat, the bike, the SCU, like, things have been taken and lost. And again, now is, you've come in under the 2% tax cap the last 2 or 3 years, 700-something thousand under it this year. Start building, hiring 2 or 3 cops this year, so we can start instituting some other policies and letting the chief be a chief and run his police department. Like, those are the things that are gonna start showing that, yeah, we're not downsizing, we're looking to build it back up. We had to make cuts during the tough times, but now we're starting to build back up, and that's the stuff that's gonna show the officers and the public and everyone else around that, it's coming back and not just lip service. And I think that started getting lost here, and I just wanted to reiterate that.
John, and I completely understand what you're saying, but we all have to take a look at it. And I don't want to be the negative one, but the practical one in that, every department in this town, we're not just picking on the police, every department in this town is short or down, has been down-staffed. So it's not, again, the building department, we have one man in this size town with this many lots, this many houses, this many projects, only one man who's certified to look at blueprints. For a town this size, that's wrong. We have an engineering department with 2 engineers that handle 14 water districts, 8 sewer districts? I mean, with a budget that's 20 to 24, we have 2. We have an assessor's department that we're doing a reval, we have 2 employees. We have cut over the years to try to manage rising costs, lowering of mortgage tax revenue, and then the cap. I completely understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I just want to point out that it's not just at the police department. What I think it's feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, before I came on board, and even while we were on board, a lot of other departments lost headcount, lost all their headcount. Now lately, because of the last department to start losing headcount or reduction is the police, so you start feeling like, oh my God, you're downsizing. Well, I mean, if that's the case, look behind you, Mike Simone's down, guys, and we can't backfill. We backfilled 1, 2 went out. You know, from years past, he's still down. I already mentioned the building department and everything. So every department has downsized. We are doing less. Oh, I'm sorry, we're trying to do more or the same with less. And I'm sorry if the police department gets a little bit of reduction, and they have gotten reduction. And I'm not saying that we can't hire.
That's
we
why I'm
shouldn't
not up here
hire.
screaming hire 6 this year and start that. No one's saying it has to all be done now.
And I agree with you, but again, the big picture, and everyone could snicker now again with my fair and balanced. We hire 2 or 3 with you, highway's gonna come in, building's gonna come in, engineering's gonna come in, and all of a sudden, we just hired about 6 or 7 amongst the town, and I gotta be honest with you, we probably need them. In fact, not probably, we do need them. But guess what? Then that tax goes up and goes up and goes up. And that's the truth. I mean, we're $800,000, almost $1 million under the 2% cap, yet our taxes are going up 2.6. And that's only replacing 2 officers and nobody else. Like the numbers don't lie, and I know everyone makes fun of me like it's a numbers game, but like, we're trying to find a balance. And guys, trust me when I say this, I'm 47 years old. If I ever got laid off from work, that's darn tough for me to get a job with 2 kids about to go to college. So I have the same fear. Yes, I have the same fear. Who doesn't have the same fear in this crazy economic times? And I got 3 degrees and I work for a pharmaceutical company, and I'm scared that I could get possibly laid off. And other people at IBM have gotten laid off. GE, HP is laying off 30,000. Like, this is the tough times. So would we love to have everyone be utopic, have job security? My God, I'd love it. Am I trying to do that? Yes, we're trying to do that by supplementing some costs elsewhere so that we have job security. So does that mean that we hire 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't know. But we're going to try to keep job security by looking at getting outside resources that we pay for. So, like, you know, I don't want people to walk away and be like, everything is great. This town could change next year. This town could change in 4 years. We don't know. Like, and I'm sorry if you don't like that answer. I don't know what's going to happen next month. I don't know what's going to happen next year. That's the truth. That's the reality of it. And if anyone doesn't believe that or doesn't accept that, you're living in make-believe land. So
Yeah,
we're
that's
going
why
to do our
it's-
best job.
Okay, very good.
Okay, anyone else? Going once, going twice? Louis? You don't? I knew you did.
He looked right at you.
You were looking right at me when I asked. But
Louis Lopriato. I'm not here representing myself as a town employee, just a taxpayer in the town. I guess my biggest question, and I'm a little nervous because I don't like doing this stuff. A few years ago, a prior board member, I was talking to him at a football game. And my concern was the school taxes. His direct answer to me was, "That's not my problem." And I was kind of taken back by that. So I guess it's a loaded question, but I want to ask everybody here, school taxes, because I look at this,
Big.
68%. And I pay my taxes. I don't think the town taxes are, for the property I own, are outrageous, but when I get my school tax bill, that's where my concern is. So do you think it's none of our, is it not the town board's concern, the school taxes? I know that's a loaded question, but are we doing anything to bring any type of revenue in here to combat this? And then I totally agree with Mr. Lombardi, Frank. When you told me about buying that can of soda, if somebody buys a can of soda in town and we don't even get the tax revenue for it, it's absurd. So I guess my question is, what can we do to combat that 68% school tax?
I think we probably need a 2 or 3 hour meeting to talk about that.
You're probably right.
No, seriously.
But
I mean,
it's not brought up, so
think-
I just
wanna-
I just thought I'd bring
I
it
don't-
up.
I think I know who you're talking about when he said that to you. I'm not going to say, it's not right to say it's not our concern. We don't have any say-so in it. That's maybe what he meant to say, and I think you know that we really don't, except for the fact that when we try to share services with the school district, you know, with the county, you know, we would try to share services with them that maybe would bring their costs down, maybe would bring our costs down a little bit. So that, you know, we have had good relationships with the school board in the past. I hope we continue to do so in the future. But just like everybody came out tonight on a rumor, and that's fine. I'm glad everybody came out. I really do appreciate when people actually know and are informed and express their opinion.
Right.
There's school board meetings every month. How many people here have gone to those and complained about anything?
But is it is it the level of the school board? Can they do something about it, or can we bring business in here to supplement this? Is it
you
all
can't-
of our problems? Is it you
Well,
and I? All, you know, is this everybody's got a piece of the pie
I have
here.
opinions about different things, but like,
You know, you
for
can get a
example-
slice of
for
pizza
example-
here, 20 pizza places, Chinese food,
Well-
a sandwich, but can you buy a suit in this town? Nope.
No, and you
You
know what?
can't.
Years ago, somebody made fun of me when I
can't.
said we couldn't buy a pair of shoes here. You had to go to the Danbury Mall, and they blah, whatever. At that time, I was surprised the lady knew how to type anything on a computer. But yeah, it's true. Listen, if there's sales tax shared with the municipalities and the school districts, I'm pretty sure your school tax would, it might not go down, but it definitely shouldn't go up. All right, so
Your
so if
county
you want to
tax
bring everybody,
Go up. Your county tax would
County
go
tax
up,
will
though.
go up.
What you have to do
Well,
is.
you
would
you-
share it
what
with
you have to
more
do, it's not
people,
even so
with
much
more
bring in
residents.
revenue for the school tax. Sadly, what you'd have to do is consolidate services. You'd have to look at like all, and I know it sounds bad, but you have to control costs. So if Carmel School District, Mahopac School District, Haldane, if they all have high overhead and high administration costs, you consolidate, you pool them, and you look to reduce that cost level. I know you don't like to hear it because it's consolidation of services, but guys, the perfect business model for what I'm talking about is in Connecticut. Connecticut only has a county government and has a very small town government. You know, the state.
Yeah, but closer, if you go up
No,
to
it's
Route
county,
9
no town.
Fishkill, there's, you know, as soon as you get off 84 to Route 9, there's
Oh, no, sorry. Yes,
there's
I said that
business
opposite.
all over Route 9. I'm not saying making Mayapack Route 6 Route 9, but, you know, I don't know what the answer is. I think these, you know,
Louis, school districts.
and we've been hearing about, you know, these business proposals, these, you know, the Baldwin Meadows project, the hotel project. These things have just gone by the wayside over the years. Nothing's happening.
You know
But a
what the- you know
pizza
what-
place can open on the corner.
Louis, the reality is, school districts know how to do one thing: spend your money.
All right.
Spend, spend, and spend. There's no control over your money on the school district level because people don't come out to school board meetings and speak about it. They just don't. They don't show up. And so the school districts, they set a budget. It goes out to the public for a public vote. And in most cases, it passes because people they're not educating themselves enough about where the money is being spent. If you knew where some of your tax
They
dollars...
also have the contingency. If it's voted down, it's raised anyway. So
It is.
It's lose-lose.
It's lose-lose. And also, did you just for the sake of information that you may not be aware of, the school district charges us $90,000 a year to use their facilities. They charge the same...
Kenny, wait,
Hold on,
wait,
hold
wait.
on.
That's
We-
what I
we-
want you to just say. We just met last week. We had a meeting with them, and we're...
And that's a bargain.
And that's a...
It's a bargain?
That's a
No,
bargain.
we're not negotiating, we're speaking with them. Bob Buckley was here also, and Jim. So we are speaking with the school, trying to get what we can. So, because it all comes out of the same taxpayer pockets. It all comes out of our pockets, if it's the school board or if it's the school or the town. So if we can, you know, kind of combine some things and it's one tax instead of double dipping. And that's what we're trying to do. And we did meet on it. We met last week, and we're going to
That's
continue
it,
to
Sue,
meet.
you stole my thunder. That's
No,
exactly what I was going to
because you
say.
keep on talking. I
No,
can't get
because it's the
anything
truth.
in.
No, I'll keep talking. You know why I'll keep talking? Because it's bull that they
I
do that.
just want-
It's the same taxpayer.
Yelling at me.
Motion to
Go to a
adjourn?
school
Oh, no, I'm
board.
not, I've gone to school
Anybody?
board meetings. I was on the school board, remember?
Well, I just wanted him
All right,
to
I'm
know
saying-
that
listen,
we
well, I
had a
appreciate-
meeting.
Listen,
Like I said,
what
I
I'm telling,
appreciate
hang
your
on a
time.
second. It's okay for you to say what you wanted to say for as long
And
as you wanted
arguing
to
with-
say it.
And arguing with Susie.
No, it's just guys. All right, if you don't want to hear it, then listen. I don't want to hear half the stuff sometimes that are being said up here by other board members of the board. Do I interfere with them?
negotiating that, we shouldn't talk about it. Still negotiating.
Guys, it's okay for everyone else to say what they want to say as long as they want to say it. If I say something, please give me the courtesy and respect to let me finish what I'm saying.
All
That's all
I'm
I'm
saying,
asking.
Kenny, we
If
are
you don't
in
want it, well-
we are in negotiations, just like with the arbitration and just with everything. We cannot bring what was being said
I was
during
making a point.
during it. Yeah,
No, I
go,
was
you
making a
can make
point.
it.
And I made my point.
John,
If you would have let me finish, I would have made the point.
is it
completely.
fair to say that a lot of that school tax is based on teacher salaries and, pension plans and healthcare, all that?
I mean,
That's why we get that number, right? Essentially, that's what's happening. And I don't want to bring this up, and it's apples and oranges with police services.
But very, very similar, Louis, if you look at you have the package there.
Yes.
If you look at 71% of our budget is employee.
Correct.
So yes, and one vehicle that the state tried to do was the 2% cap, and made it a lot harder for the school districts to break the 2% cap than the town to break the town and the municipalities. And the teachers' union, though, have come forward, and they've taken lower pay raises to save jobs. They've all started to contribute to benefits. I mean, so in all fairness to the teachers' unions, it's been a battle, but they have come around. But yes, a big chunk of that is salary level.
Okay.
Or
And now
employee-based
I
level.
probably can't go home because my wife's a teacher and probably watching this, so. But thanks for your time.
But not in the Mahopac School District, right?
No, no.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Louis. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Marguerite Brown. Full disclosure, I'm the mother of Neil Brown in the police department, but my remark is not about the police department. You say you have no control over the school system's budget and whatever. I said, but one of the major things when we moved up here, which is 30-some-odd years ago, is that we had blue ribbon schools. We don't have them now. My kids are not in the school system, so that part doesn't affect me, although I'm paying the taxes. But people move here because of schools. You're not getting the mortgage tax because people are not moving here, because our schools are going down. And I think that's leverage that you guys could have with the school board, that they either up the quality of their schools so that you get more mortgage tax, or they're going to get less from you in terms of that 90 grand you just spoke about, because we can't give it to them, because we're not getting the mortgage tax. And that's where we can tie the knot, so to say. I don't want to say it another way, but you know what I mean? So you do have some control, and I think that the town should have some control over the school board. I mean, they should be under your auspices. It should not be a separate entity. And I don't know whoever thought of that in the first place, but it's the way I feel. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Anyone else? Okay, all right. Thank you all for being here.
Close the meeting?
Yeah, we got to close the meeting. We're not going into executive.
Columbus Day Parade?
Any announcements?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have any.
You want to make that announcement?
Yeah, just this coming Sunday, I guess weather permitting, is the annual Putnam County Columbus Day Parade right here on Route 6. I believe it starts at 2:30, Kenny?
Day parade.
2:30, and it ends in a street fair and festival at the Chamber of Commerce Park and throughout, so Hope to see you there.
All right. Thank you, Frank. I need a motion to close.
So moved.
So moved. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.
Aye.
He shared services.